Right, thanks for joining us. Just an interesting opportunity here. Obviously, both of us wanted to get together just to have a chat. Obviously, Mental Health Week or Mental Health Awareness Week coming up. Just really good, Bessie. Good to sort of talk about these sort of things and get them out in the open. Really, how are you coping with the sort of lockdown at the moment?
Yeah, mate. I think it's really really important to chat about these things. I know we've had our obviously own experiences, and then obviously being in recent times, we've also sort of experienced each other's, had good couple of chats, which has always been really key. But yeah, mate, I've actually been all right during the lockdown. I know I was very sort of anxious about the situation, not knowing how long it could be, but getting that structure in, I think, sort of really helped me. Sort of getting out, getting running, getting fit. I think for me, always gets me in a positive mindset, and having a bit of structure. I don't know about you. How have you found it?
Yeah, okay. I think you're right. The real key bit is getting that rhythm of the day-to-day sort of life, isn't it? It's just it's different. We know it's different. Groundhog Day every day, just getting up and doing the same sort of thing. But I go through spells where it's better than others, and I think you just get used to it. You get used to sort of doing the same things day by day. But it's hard to know when it's almost going to finish. You know, you're watching the news all the time, and you're trying to pick up on a bit of the information. You're not really getting what we're wanting at the moment. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. You know, the old sort of changing from playing to coaching.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, you know, just getting your head around everything that goes on differently. But it's been interesting.
Yeah,
it's been interesting.
I certainly feel like there has been little times where, for me as well, I know sort of how it affects me and triggers. I always call them triggers, and it's starting up. Even little things like I find the weather. Like, if I know we've been fortunate with the weather, but there's times where it's been really bad, and like I really struggle to get out of bed, and obviously that motivation's not there, and I struggle with that quite a lot. And getting going is always the hardest part for me. Certainly in this lockdown, and I know there's been little triggers, but obviously I'm fortunate enough to have the two people in my household, my girlfriend and my housemate, to sort of make sure that I'm all right and keep going with it.
Where would you imagine doing this in the winter? Imagine this doing like January, February, when it's dark days and terrible weather. I've definitely noticed a difference when the weather's been bad. We've been blessed with the weather at the moment. It's absolutely delightful. So it's been a godsend, really, to think that we've had so much sun to be able to get outside and do what you wanted to do. Can you imagine being stuck in, doing it the other way?
Mate, the winter, I'd be such a bad bloke to be around, I reckon. Around it.
What's the normal?
Oh, yeah, a lot worse than normal. No, mate, it is fortunate that it has been decent weather. But it is funny, isn't it, how like little things like that can just change the whole, I think, the whole atmosphere within my mood and everything. And that getting to sort of know myself a lot more within recent times and understanding it a little more. And I know we've had a little conversation about like that slight change. It is amazing. Even like being in a pretty dark room, I try and, like you said, try and open up some doors and windows, let the light through, and just little things like that, I think, are so key as well with it.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit, and obviously before sort of lockdown started, over the course of this winter, I reckon you've been to how many different countries?
Quite a few. India, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Australia. 4.
Yeah, with how much rest, how much time at home in between?
I had 2. So when I went in November, I had India for a month, came back for 2 days. Then I was away to South Africa for probably about a month and a half, 2 months, I think. And then I had 8 days, I reckon. And then I had to fly back out. So flew from South Africa to England, 8 days at home, and then to Australia. And then straight on to Sri Lanka from there. And yeah, it was certainly a long tour. And I remember sort of seeing Mo Bobat, head of the ECB sort of operations and that side of it, having a chat with him, myself, Dom Sibley, Zach Crawley, having a chat together, just saying that we do need a break. I reckon we need to sort of get home. And he was obviously very good. And we obviously wanted to be part of the Lions side, but trying to find that break, I think, was key, because even though it is amazing how you are traveling the world and stuff, little things and sort of missing home really does kick in. And I think it's really key having those breaks.
Yeah. So obviously this has all come at quite a fast pace for you this winter. And obviously you had your little taste of international cricket like a year ago. And then was it any different this time around when you obviously got out of South Africa?
Yeah, it was. I'd sort of obviously been in and around it, and I knew sort of the structure. So that excitement was still there, but sort of being more comfortable within a group was really sort of settled my nerves a little bit more. Obviously, I was a little bit nervous, but being around lads that I had been around certainly was. I don't know how you felt when you sort of started in, but the group that we had were really close, and it was nice to go back into that environment, knowing the environment. I know you've been in there a little bit sort of on the coaching side now, after Scott and Jason, although you laughing about that when that happened. But yeah, I think I was obviously a lot more comfortable going in. I think that really helped my sort of within my own head, I guess. And I felt really comfortable, and that was the big thing about it. But other than that, it was obviously still playing for your country. You still have those sort of nerves, but the excitement with it.
Must have been a lovely feeling. Actually, obviously, it's been a tough couple of years.
Yeah, I think when I finally sort of got the nod at Cape Town, I certainly that situation within that ended 2018. The whole thing, I felt so far off England again, and I think when I got back into that England shirt, it was more certainly the 6 months that I'd been through before that. I think there was a reason why I was back there again, and I think, like I said, I had confidence within myself because I had sort of battled through that situation and opened up really about my mental health. I felt so excited to go out there, knowing that I'd struggled, and I know that sort of within a cricket game, it's going to be so much easier than what I'd just been through. And I think Cape Town was amazing. That Test match was unbelievable, and sort of start of my Test career being around sort of some youngsters in Popey, Crawley, Sibbers, Sam, going through that together alongside the experienced people that I've watched growing up was an amazing experience and a real high. You talk about these highs and lows, and it's crazy to think sort of a couple of months before that I was probably at the lowest point where I'd been for a long time, and then to go and sit. I remember sitting with Zach Parkey at the end of that Cape Town Test match, overlooking the Table Mountain with a beer in hand, just being like, this is an absolute dream. And and it just made me laugh because I was thinking, these are the things you go through, and I was so glad to open up and offload everything so I could then get back and get motivated and, you know what I mean, really try and change how I was thinking and getting my processes right.
Was it much different compared to obviously, you know, when you played, with all your due respect, you made your debut before. You know, it came out a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? And obviously this time around now, you know, you're in a different place. Was it much different and much different a feeling?
Yeah, I think obviously I got given that cap off probably a bit of a success, and then obviously they might have wanted to see what I was about within that environment. So I think it was more of an opportunity, those two Test matches, more than anything. And I think it was that excitement. I know I took it as an opportunity, but I think coming back into the side, I really think the selectors, the coaches, has seen that actually my game had got better, and I was there probably more for merit, because they knew my character, they knew what I was about. So obviously you would have had success before, and you've got to play for England to have a bit of success and do well, and also have a bit of luck. But I think I certainly got back through a bit of luck, but also me actually being better. And I knew in my own head and my body that I knew I could perform at the level now, I think, consistently and actually impact. Obviously, that's just me backing myself and making sure I was okay. But the mindset I was in and the where I was in a lot different headspace and a lot different place, I think.
And then obviously, I know we've spoke about this quite a bit before ourselves. Obviously, we've had various chats about the sort of mental side of the game, the mental health that we, that we dealt with. And I know you've talked about it quite openly in recent times about the struggles that you feel that you had, and and dealing with them as you're going along. It must have been tough. Obviously, I know it was tough because obviously I was there helping you, trying to get through it. Obviously, that when you first played that little bit, and then coming back, and then we played a bit of second team together, played a bit of first team together. That whole roller coaster must have been quite tough.
Yeah, I think, and you were sort of the best thing with that. I knew sort of you were there, and we obviously got a very close relationship, and I know I can sort of chat to you about it. But it was a hell of a roller coaster, sort of playing Lords and then coming back to the second team, and going quite well. But sort of I lost my way a little bit, and even I don't know if you remember. Well, you will, because at Trent Bridge, do you remember that game last game of the year? And I obviously we travelled up, and I'd been in and outside a little bit, and I didn't get picked for the last game of the summer. And I knew there was a tour coming up, and obviously I was really keen to sort of like get back into it. And I just collapsed and broke down. We were walking back to the bus, and I know that I was sort of in absolute bits, and sort of everyone got on the bus. I know I sort of came to you and you dragged me to the side, and like almost little things like cry. Like I remember just crying, giving you a hug and crying, and like that was really powerful, and a real big step within my sort of mental health battle, in the fact that I knew that I could certainly come to you and chat about these things, and almost offload it as well, and know that I'm sort of not alone, and I've certainly got someone there to offload and allow, like, you helped me through that whole week. I remember just being in absolute bits, just dropping tears. But I know straight after that we had 5-10 minutes of just offloading, and I think it's a really hard thing to do, and it makes me smile, because I think certainly going back, obviously watching you play for England, and before I knew you as a bloke and as a mate, I sort of saw you as a big role model. And I think the most powerful thing that I sort of came across was actually knowing that you had been through that, and then I had the confidence to come and chat to you about it and really open up. And I think as a real youngster and then a senior player, I think that was really important, and how it allowed me to then sort of open up and sort of offload that whole summer, and all those trigger points, and actually have someone to chat to, I think was so important. And I don't know how you felt from the other end, sort of seeing me obviously bottling up a little bit, and sort of probably saw it coming.
It's a tough one, because you get to know your teammates and you understand them, and you can see when they're not right. It's not so much like you might bowl a bad spell or something like that, and everyone gets disappointed. You might get out of a knot and everyone is disappointed in the same way. But there's a definite shift when there's something not right, when you can see other things which worry you, when somebody that that suffers, that you can almost sense it in people. I'm sure you the same. Is you can sense the mannerisms of what people create and what they actually say to each other, and is your body language. You can almost pick up on something that's continually not improving.
I think it's quite. I feel like obviously we're both probably quite bubbly characters within the change room, and I certainly knew that things. So back along, obviously, when I had issues at school, and then that sort of period of time, I felt very similar feelings that I did that time, and that's when I sort of knew that something wasn't right. But especially within that situation of me playing international cricket and then coming down again, and then also trying to find my feet, putting myself under pressure. I also didn't. There was times where also I didn't want to sort of say too much, and people think it was sort of like a fallback on. Do you know what I mean? Where I like fell back and said, like, I'm really struggling, and this is because of it. I felt almost weak and not okay to sort of say it. And obviously I know now that that only puts me even further down this spiral that I always imagine it being down this spiral and not being able to get up, and certainly having the club that we're at, Somerset, and allowing the situation where we've both been, from personal experience, I feel like as a group we're very open anyway. So I think as teammates, as friends, it certainly allowed me to get out of that situation.
Yeah, you said already there that this wasn't the first time you sort of experienced it. This goes back a bit further on, does it?
Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah, so this goes back a bit further. Obviously, it's it's not the first time that it's always sort of chatted and experienced. You've dealt with this in your past before.
Yeah, so the first big situation I had was at school, and it was during my exam times, and exams, and that pressure. I was obviously never that academic, but I always tried as hard as I could, and that pressure really put me under some real stress and real struggles. And there was a situation in class where I was reading, and I guess this is where it comes back to. I was reading, and I wasn't getting the words out, and obviously classmates and my mates started laughing, and obviously it was a bit of fun, and then I kept going, and I just couldn't read it, and I was getting really embarrassed, and sort of all this pressure was coming on me, and I just couldn't find a way out. And I remember the teacher just keep going as well. He kept pushing me to read and try and get me out of it, and I couldn't. And like, I could feel all my classmates waiting, the awkwardness, and I just broke from there. I just broke down, and I had that real anxiety and problem from that situation. I remember going out of class and having that fear factor of not even being able to go into class, and I had all these exams, and it all built up from there. And I never nipped it in the bud by then. And as this sort of that big trigger started, little things would come in, and I'd get really anxious, and then that would sort of form into sort of depression. It was only the small things, but at that time it was so key, and that was for me the start of my mental health. Such a small thing, but it was so big in the fact that I still have triggers and situations now where if I don't nip it in the bud and I let it go, it really kicks on. I don't know about you, how what your experiences have been, and if you can ever remember there was a certain period where it almost started.
Very much so. Mine was way back when I was sort of 11. I went on my first trip away with the school, and just the overriding feeling of anxiety and just homesickness. That's what I always thought it was. I thought mine was just sort of where I was just being away from home. I wasn't comfortable in what it was. But that stuck with me for a long, long time. And the feelings exactly the same. The emotions and the physical feelings that it creates were exactly the same as what it was when it really sort of kicked off when I was playing with England. And only then did I sort of then get the understanding of what was going on, and the realization that I could do something about it and try and help myself to improve it. My help comes with a lot of different things now, and I've sort of worked that out through medication, through chatting with my sort of psychologist, doing various different things, keeping myself busy, trying to keep on top of it. But there's lots of different ways that you sort of build on it and sort of build a method and create a method of working out, of getting a way of getting through it. Obviously the trusts were massive for me. The PCA was massive in terms of getting that initial help and getting me talking to someone. The first person I spoke to is still the same person that I speak to now, which is so helpful. He now lives in France, and I communicate now via Skype and doing it that way. But I've been around the houses with different people, but it's so crucial finding that one person that you need to, that you trust and get happy with.
It's amazing. This is something that I've always found amazing and scary at the same time. Those same feelings come back as well. From, like you said, from 11 to now, it's those same sort of feelings. But knowing, I guess, that you've got, like you say, I think it's really crucial finding that support and the support
Yeah.
around you, that
Yeah.
one person.
What else do you have? Obviously when you sort of broke this out, and obviously you've talked about it in the media, but initially before you sort of went public with it, you obviously went to the PCA and to the trust, and what did you sort of get in place, or what have you got in place now?
Yeah, so I've got a psychologist outside of the game, someone who I think that was so crucial for me. This September I really struggled for the whole loan system, being away from my family, from the teammates, and obviously it was amazing having other teammates, but it wasn't that same connection. I really struggled there, and I know coming to September, I sort of broke down with our club psychologist, and then luckily with sort of support that I had, the PCA came in and helped me find a sort of psychologist outside of the game, and she is absolutely amazing. She lives half an hour away, so I know that I've had sessions with her sort of throughout sort of September time, and that was so crucial for me, was actually getting someone away from the game, because it certainly got to a point with my mental health that it was more than the cricket. It was more than within the game and the pressures. It was outside life and relationships outside that came apparent, and it wasn't them, it was me, and that was a real big understanding. And that's something that I certainly worked out with my person, my psychologist, and she certainly helped me plan also the tours. I think that was really key, because I was really anxious then going away, and I was hoping that I was going to be okay, but we certainly spoke we certainly had quite a few sessions on face to face and on Skype, and just getting a real understanding of how I can put things into place to make sure that I can manage it, and that's a real big thing for me in the fact that my confidence, knowing that I have got things to fall back on, and when it isn't okay, I can go back to these sort of methods that I go through to sort of get out the other side of it.
Yeah. So does that, when you say methods of sort of coping with it, does that also sort of fall into personal development stuff? Did you work? Obviously, Martin Cropper is our PDM down in the southwest. How does that help in any way?
It certainly takes my mind away from the cricket pressure, but also it gives me another thing to sort of put my mind to try and get my mind away from me overthinking and me thinking with inside my head, if that makes sense. And I know Crops has been amazing for me, and he's very, very good. We're very fortunate to have him, because obviously I'm speaking to him regularly during these, and just more as well, making sure I'm okay, but he's also pushing me as well to get on with other things outside of my cricket. And again, that gives me a little bit more confidence as well, because little triggers like that, not knowing what's next, and I'm certainly a thinker, and that also adds these little triggers to my own head that just keeps me sparring. Certainly if I have a couple of bad days and I can't get out of that. How have you found it as well? Obviously you've now changed and sort of shifting to that coaching role. How's that been?
Been good. I was worried for a long time about what it would feel like and how it would go. The natural progression. Having loved the game and played for a long period of time, that I'm thinking, crikey, what's it going to be like when you're not the cricketer anymore? You're not the person, not that feelings that you go out every day and try your best and get out onto the field. But I've been pleasantly surprised, actually. I've been quite nice to have that release of pressure a little bit, to not have the burden of the scrutiny of everything on top of you. You've got to go out and perform all the time, and the ups and downs. I would say it's made me a lot more level-headed. Although I still manage the mental health stuff around it, because I'm more situational with my mental health now than what I was probably when I was playing. But it's been good. We're lucky. I think we're in an industry where we've got a great union setting up and helping us through it. but it's been a good transition. Apart from obviously this break now at the moment for COVID, that it's been a little bit different. It is what it is. You know, I'm stuck into it, and I've gotten into the coaching side of things now, looking for, you know how that is your thing. That's your something now that you go to. You know, the dog sticking, the throwing, the doing everything work to try and make people better. I don't think there's much. You know, it's a great pleasure for us being a coach now and seeing people succeed when you've worked with them and having success that they get. And that's vitally important. I think you've got to find something that to have that continued sort of love about what I'm doing, because batting was what it was for so long. You know, it's now moved into the coaching and doing the other bits that we do. So we're lucky with that fact. And I spoke to a couple of other people, and I know from yourself that you've also spoke to other people that are worried about similar things or have their own worries about the game and stuff like that. You're able to help people because of the experience you've had.
Yeah, definitely. And the big thing as well, I think, is, and this is why I think it was probably time for me to sort of open up and chat, is also trying to help other people within the industry, because we are very fortunate with the whole situation of being within cricket. And I think the whole opening up and now obviously you being my coach, I think it's also great that I think from a player's perspective, obviously having a situation like you within the whole mental health side, I think a lot of youngsters will now be very open with it, and I feel like players are starting to open up, and it is okay. I know even when we played Yorkshire last year, I really struggled that game, not going in, and I was very nervous as well with the likes of my fellow teammates and very good friends that what they would think, and they were obviously very supportive, and I think that's so key. Having a great network of mates and players to chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the trust in general on PCA, obviously we're blessed to have the situation and everything set up like we are.
Mate, we are. I think we are so lucky. I was at that period of time. I was so fortunate to have sort of the support that I had with these guys, and how they. For me, it's obviously not even. It's the little things that they do. They phone up, check that. They just get it done. They get things done for you, and the number one thing is about you and your health. And I think that was we're so fortunate to have it. I know Crops phoned me up straight away, and I probably chatted to him for about an hour and a half when sort of I was really sort of breaking down, and I just opened up about it. I was sort of lost in September. It's funny because you look back now and we're sort of chasing for the title, and those sort of things were just not important to me at all. I was and that's the crazy thing. I wasn't thinking anything about England. It got to the point where I just wanted to be home. I didn't want to be playing cricket. I just wanted help. And it got to the point where we were playing against Yorkshire, and I chatted to Chris Bodman, Bodders, and we were sat in the office behind our changing rooms, and we were batting, and I just broke down in tears. And this was during the game. I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't know what the score was. All I knew that the openers were out there, and sort of 45 minutes, an hour went, and I was in tears. Like Steve Snell's office must be an absolute floods. Carpets must be coming up, because I remember it. I was tears and sort of just chatting there, and he helped me sort of get it out there. And then I obviously spoke to Orders, and I spoke to Jason Kerr, Andy Hurry, and they sort of got me in contact as well. I spoke to Orders. I spoke to Crops, and he sorted the whole situation out for me. He did everything for me. He put me in contact with the psychologist now that I speak to, and I went away. Not even, I think we won the game, but I was absolutely nowhere with it. And I remember just next day sort of going and chatting to her for ages. I was chatting to Steve Davis. Obviously, he's been very open with his side of his life really, and I think that was a big inspiration as well for me. And I knew he was always there for me. I know James Kennedy, our doctor, was there, and it was amazing actually when I finally opened up, how many people came to me and just made sure I was right. And even though I wasn't, and I was really struggling with this situation, like people just putting their arms around me, like giving me hugs. And I know it's not, well, it is, I think it's very different now, but obviously that manly thing not to hug and stuff. And I think it was so crucial just to sort of embrace and know that people appreciated me, and they couldn't believe sort of what I was going through. And I think that was so important. And it wouldn't have happened if the trust wasn't there. And I think we are so fortunate for it. And even I think youngsters probably don't, just because they're coming in and everything's so thick and fast, they probably don't realize what is out there and what they can offer. And even if it is the smallest thing, like we know, it can build up into something that is something that you don't want to be dealing with. But having that help alongside it, they've got to know about it, and they've got to do is obviously phone their reps or speak to anyone really, and make sure they're okay. I think it is so crucial.
That sort of rolls really into my next sort of question for you. What would you say? You know, how would you tell someone within your team, or whether in the county setup, in county cricket in general, or in general members of the public, what would you say to them was the important parts for you to, you know, for getting help? What would you do? What would you do to try and manage it?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is the big step for me was actually just understanding it's not okay. It's okay, sorry, not to be okay. And so no, that I think that is so crucial, because for me, when I really understood that, then I could speak. And I remember being so nervous speaking and opening up. But I think the key as well, and I think it's so important that we are doing this, because also being able to speak to your senior players, being able to be comfortable within a change room, I think was crucial for me. Being able to sort of speak to the likes of you, and knowing that you'd been through situations that I was dealing with, allowed me to, like I said, break down in front of you, cry, let you sort of just comfort me really. And I know as a youngster that helped me so much. And then obviously having 2 years now where I've sort of been a little bit more open to it, I think that's where I sort of wanted to open up and sort of say and make sure to everyone that if you are struggling with anything, you've got to sort of chat about it and make sure firstly your health is okay. And I think no matter who it is, even if it's your parents, your mates, maybe people that you're not as close to, if that makes sense, and you can actually get it out there. Because I certainly felt that at times I was very nervous to chat to my closest mates, because I was scared that I was scared in the fact that they would start really worrying about me. I know my mum, I've struggled talking to my mum about it, because I'm scared that she'll worry for me. So I found actually other people, and that's where I found my teammates and my cricket mates actually so useful in that sort of aspect. I don't know about you, what you think about it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. The more people I tell, the better it is. And it's obviously I've gone through a longer journey, obviously talking about it. How is it talking about it for you in terms of telling people now? Because when I first started, I was worried, of course, because I wasn't sure what people's reaction would be. But it's turned out to be a godsend, really. You know, writing the book, telling people about it. How have you found that?
I think, like you said, it is. I genuinely do feel weight off my shoulders, and to also be open with it, that people might know that I'm struggling. I think more longer down the lines, when I might go back into the shell, not say much, and that's my real battle, is trying to keep chatting to people, keep telling them how I am. I think that's crucial, because I then know that I've got a good group who, maybe if I'm not helping myself, they're just keeping an eye out for me. And I think that's a really key situation, and that's how I think me talking about it was so crucial.
Yeah, and what's been people's reaction? Have you had anybody then coming up to you now yet and saying, "Oh, well done," and thanks for talking about it and stuff?
Yeah, I've had a couple of messages, and again, the big thing I wanted to make sure was it's not about me and my story and like I've come through it, because that's not the reason why I've done it. I've opened up to, I think, make sure that other people can come out. I had a couple of messages on Facebook and Instagram saying, "Oh, thank you so much for sort of just saying that you've struggled," because they sort of obviously see me play for England. Obviously, I've done fairly well in my career so far, and they sort of almost expect that I wouldn't have ever gone through struggles. It's always plain sailing, when it is the complete opposite. Like, they wouldn't have seen me in tears behind Trent at Trent Bridge behind the stadium crying to you, or do you know what I mean, crying to the psychologist while we're playing a game. And I think making sure that people know that actually, even at the top, and people really do struggle still. And I think that was more a relief that I know that I can also help people, even if it is one person. And I think that's why it was so crucial. And I think allowing I don't know, obviously I'm fairly young still within the game, but knowing that hopefully youngsters will watch this and listen to this and know that if they are ever struggling, they can always sort of chat, and they know that other people are struggling. I think that's a big thing for me. It's about helping other people. And I genuinely do believe, I think it's come from obviously you opening up. I know within our environment, it is so open now, and if people are struggling, I think we get around each other, and I think that's a real testament to you, and you sort of opening up your story. And I think there's so many people around the country, mate, that obviously see your situation and they take real inspiration from it.
Well, let's hope so. And it's been great so far. Let's see. I think it's your journey is going to be even better than what it is from up to this point. And you telling your story at this point now is an inspiration really to everyone, yourself and your family and stuff like that, and the PCA, making sure it happens so well. You will get 1 million people come to you and say to you, "Well done," because it is a brilliant thing that you've done. Where you see the other people like Chris Wood, come and talking about their gambling.
Yeah, that was amazing,
remarkable, isn't it? So
yeah, because that's a funny thing actually. I would have never, you would have never known that.
No,
I think that takes such great strength, and I think when I saw the reaction as well from a lot of people that probably don't know him, I think that was amazing. Very, very great courage, I think.
Yeah. Well, you're in a unique club now, because people will come and talk to you. So enjoy that. But I applaud you on talking about it and coming out and telling people. So well done, mate. And here's to a bright future. All right.
Yeah, a lot of cuddles to come.